Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, Chucky2009, and this is my new engine-drive welder. It is a Weldanpower 225 G7, and we're going to start it up and let it warm up, then we're going to weld with it some. Alright, so what can I say about this machine? Well, I actually brought it home from Milwaukee with me. I was up there visiting Pete, aka Tiger77. Who's been in a bunch of videos with me. We shot a bunch more videos while I was up there, and he recently acquired this fine welder. Basically, it's a really low-hour machine. From what he told me, it belonged to some little old man who bought it new and died, and then it went to his estate sale. And the guy Pete knows bought it because he wanted to use it for a backup generator or a generator for something or other. And he wasn't using it, decided he'd rather have some money, turned and flipped it to Pete. Pete got it running and promptly sold it to me when I was up there. He only had it for like 3 days or something. And I really wasn't planning to buy a welder while I was there, especially something this beastly. But, you know, he gave me a really good deal on it, so thanks again, Pete. And here it is. You know, it just kind of happened. Now about the welder itself. As you can see, it has a twin-cylinder 16 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine. And, yeah, runs pretty well. I'm told these are really reliable, bulletproof engines, and it is a very low-hour machine. Now, unfortunately, this particular welder, you know, never came with an hour meter on it, but these mufflers were in really good shape when I was in Milwaukee. You know, unfortunately, coming home, I drove through something of a monsoon, and they actually rusted more on my trip back than they rusted, you know, up until that point. And according to the serial number on the engine, this is a 1989, so who knows, maybe the welder's an 88 or a 90, but that tells us approximately how old it is. And although I never really had any experience with this particular welder, or really with any engine drive welders up until that trip, you know, when I thought Weldanpower, I thought, you know, inexpensive, homeowner grade, not all that capable, you know, whatever, but this welder has really impressed me. Basically, if we see here, we have 225 amps at 100% duty cycle. It puts out auxiliary power. I want to say it's 7,000 watts. Yeah, 7,000 watts of auxiliary power right there. And yeah, infinitely adjustable amperage. Has a CV, continuous voltage mode. If you want to run like a wire feeder off it, you can do that. It's AC and both DC polarities, of course. And as you can see, there's a little bit of cosmetic damage. It looks like it did something of a face plant. You know, up in here, it's a little torn up. This is pushed in. But it's all here and it all works. And it's taken absolutely minimal effort to get this thing in running condition after it sat for a very long time. Like I said, the little old man never really used it. Basically, well actually Pete had one of his guys do this before he knew he was going to be selling it to me. You know, what he did, really nice guy, Scott, he drained out the gas tank of the gas that was in it and swished some through there, put on a new fuel line, put in a new fuel filter, got it running, squirted some carburetor and choke cleaner into the carburetor and choke, and then I got it and gave it an oil change. Now the oil in this thing was pretty much like totally crystal freaking clear, and so Pete actually believes that's the original oil, and at the time it had the original oil filter on it. I mean, this is a really low hour machine. But whatever the case, there's that, you know, especially when you figure that in with the newness of these mufflers, and these mufflers do suck. They're really loud, and these are the type that rust out in no time whatsoever. So pretty much all it took was that, the oil change, fuel line, fuel filter, new spark plugs. And when I was up in Milwaukee, every time you fired it up, bits of newspaper and dead grass would fly out that side vent. So I opened it up and blew the remains of a mouse nest out of there. And now it's pretty much ready to go. As you can see, I've gone ahead and installed some ghetto-rific leads. And basically these are, if you can believe it or not, the original leads that came on my Hobart Stickmate like 2 or 3 years ago when I bought it new. And they're all I had laying around. Like I said, I did get this at a pretty fair price, but it was money I wasn't really planning to spend, and I don't really have a lead budget right now, but I'm working on that. I'll put something together sooner or later, and for now they do get the job done. So this is what we're going to be welding with. I will say that it welds very well. You got these amperage notches here, and you fine tune it up here. So, you know, right now we're at 90 plus 10 out of 10. That puts us at, I don't know, about 120, maybe 125 amps. On DC electrode positive. Actually, the last thing I ran on this was some 1/8" 7018, which is also the first thing we're going to run today. Now, like I said, this thing is loud as hell, so I've just gone ahead and put in some earplugs, and I'm going to start it up and let it warm up, and then we'll get ready to weld. Alright, basically, I'm just going to come down here and pull out the choke, since it's been sitting for probably, I believe, about 2 weeks, 1 or 2 weeks at this point. We got the idler, I'll just leave that on automatic, then I'll come down here, flip this up to start. Nope, too soon. Alright, now as you can see, the gas has been in there for a few weeks, and we're still running a bunch of crap out of the bottom of the gas tank. Yeah, now this thing does warm up pretty quick. But if it's not warmed up and you try to weld with it, you know, when you strike an arc, the RPM shoot up, and if it's not warmed up, it just dies. Up on our Nomad portable welding station. Yeah, let's do it. It's like welding with a regular plugs into the wall welder, but it's different. You know, the fundamentals are the same, but it feels like it has a lot more arc force. The pummel really wants to go down into the joint and stick there, but it's smooth, so it's not like it has a lot more arc force. It's really weird and it's hard to describe, but I like it. So that's how she does this with 7018, and let's try some 6010. Now I have burned 6010 with this welder before, but unfortunately I didn't think to write down the settings when I was doing that like I did with the 7018. I don't know why, I guess I just never did. But whatever the case, I think I want to start out about 90 amps. So, you know, set position between 3 and 10 for continuous current. So I'll just leave this at the 90 and turn this all the way down to the 3. Let's try that. push it down the middle. Now, I would say that was a little bit on the hot side of things, so in the future when I run 6 to 10 on this machine, what I think I'm going to do is set it on 70 and then set this all the way up or almost all the way up or whatever. So, yeah, that was fun, but now, just for the heck of it, let's see what this thing can do all maxed out. Now that, YouTube, is how you pull crap through a carburetor. Yeehaw! Alright, yeah. It actually went down a lot better than I expected it to. When I got done welding, I glanced down and saw that the entire steel portion of this electrode is glowing orange. But, hey, the welder can do it. Alright, now, well, heck yeah, it all works, YouTube. I like it. Well, I think I about covered everything. Don't have a wire feeder, so I'm not going to try that out. And I know the AC works. I tried that earlier. These things work. Don't know about these. I think what I'm going to do is make like a, I don't know, like a little pigtail adapter cord that converts that into one of these like everything in my shop is set up for, so I can actually use that feature. But other than that, I mean, it's all working. Now, one thing I didn't cover is the idler. Now, if you leave it set to automatic like you saw, you know, you have to do one arc strike with it to get it to spin up, or either that or risk sticking an electrode or having a cold start if you don't do that. But, you know, then it, as you saw, comes back down a few seconds after you stop welding. Or you can flip the switch up and set it to high, so it's just always like max RPMs. And this would be useful. I like the automatic feature, because if you're only welding here and welding there and there's a couple minutes in between, you know, it's going to save you a lot of gas and some wear and tear on the engine. But if you're just burning one electrode after the other, you're probably better off leaving it on high, because, well, you know, it's like your truck. You know, you get better mileage cruising than you do getting up to, you know, cruising speed and coming back down, getting back up there again. But you know, what else can I say? I really like this little machine. It's a good unit. I mean, when you think Weldanpower, I at least didn't think something quite this heavy duty, but you know, we got the duty cycle, we got the CV mode, infinite adjustment, 7,000 watts of auxiliary power. I'm really happy with it. And it seems like, you know, it's all totally ready to go. Now, I will say, I noticed it didn't sound like it was idling perfectly smooth, but, you know, what I think this welder needs is a couple tankfuls of premium gas, a bottle of seafoam, and a box of some 5/32 inch 70/18s. So, alright. Well, I believe this about concludes the video. I've had a blast making it. I really like this welder. I'm glad I got it. So, big thanks to Pete for finding it and being willing to part with it. And everyone else, thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more. I'm sure this is going to be in plenty of videos to come. And as always, YouTube, have a nice weekend.